Okay, good evening everyone. This is Joe Henches with Beyond the Chart, and this is the stock market analysis. Today is Tuesday, June 17, 2014, and the stock market was up just a measly 27 points today. And if you look at the Dow, the action of the last 3 days have all been within this bar, okay? They've just gone sideways. Okay, and in addition to the market that we look at tonight, we're going to look at Citrix Systems, Tableau Software, Skyworks Solutions, and Workday. So 4 technology-related stocks, just to kind of check in on them and see how they're doing. We kind of rotate through the sectors with every one of these reports. Try to get through all of the stocks at least in a month, if not sooner than that. Okay, let's take a look at the S&P 500. Now it's doing a similar look. It hasn't pulled quite down into the triangle the way the Dow has, the ending triangle that we've got here. And notice the close is above the 10. And when I look at the data that I've got over here, and if this gets out in the way, I'll remove it again. But when I look at the data there, I can look down the list, and below the price change, I can see DI, that's the demand index, is positive, plus 13. Plus DI, so positive DI, DI plus is what I call it, is 25, and DI minus is 23. So the blue is greater than the red. ADX is at 12, so again, we don't have a trend going on. RSI is greater than 50, so it's to the buy side. So those are some of the keys you look at, and you'd look at and say, well, kind of a little bit of a bullish close above the 10, but this chart action in here makes me a little suspect. We'll just have to see what kind of follow through we get tomorrow. Okay, let's move to New York Composite. Again, similar type thing. Now, the New York Composite had this 1 day below the 10, and the last 3 days have been a bit above the 10. And the action here, let me blow it up a little bit. The action here has gotten above this bar, so the trading has not stayed within the bar of the 12th, which was last Thursday. And the NASDAQ is doing its own thing again. Again, it's kind of like the tale of two markets, the NASDAQ and the Russell versus everything else. And the NASDAQ now is continuing to trend above the 10. So it's staying on the high side of the 10 as it's pushing higher in here. Let's see what kind of divergence. We're getting a little bit of divergence, not super clear. And again, sometimes these divergences, like on Apache, sometimes these divergences just disappear as they continue to push higher. So you have to get confirmation, of the what you think you're seeing. Russell 2000. Again, we got this potential head and shoulders playing out. I mean, it looks like it could be a beautiful symmetrical head and shoulders, but this move of the last 2 days that's coming in here is starting to make me wonder. I'm not seeing that symmetry over here, but sometimes it's not perfect. I mean, I thought we were getting it. Look at this here, pull back up, here, pull back up, but now I'm starting to wonder. So we're just gonna have to keep an eye on this. And again, we're starting to get a nice little trending action going on. What's the ADX on this? ADX is 21. So when you look at the ADX, it's barely above the 20. So it came back. This was considered to be corrected because it was in a solid downtrend. In here it was rising, it's above 20, but now it's started to bottom out. The trend changed. And now it's back above 20 again, at least slightly. I'd like to see more than that. So we'll have to keep an eye on this to see whether or not this really turns out to be what we're looking for. That's why I've got a question mark by that shoulder. Okay, those are the indices, the way they look. Short-term trading index turned down a little bit more on the 10-day exponential is 0.99. You can see it over here to the left. Okay, third one from the bottom, 0.99 is the moving average, the blue moving average. Okay, the VIX. Now the VIX is interesting. We're getting the 10 crossing the 21, so we're getting a little moving average crossing to the high side. It's going to be interesting to see, does the VIX continue to move and push up there after you cross? Now we crossed back up in here and it didn't do anything. It didn't go anywhere. I mean, there's been some crosses, but you know, we're low and now getting cross. So, you know, it's something to put on the radar. And again, the blue is the DI positive is greater than the DI minus. We don't have trending action, but that's no surprise, but given what the VIX has been doing. We put this line in here at the 20. Okay, so, and where's the 12.06 on the VIX? So close 12.06. But, you know, it's been rising over the last week. And the high-low index, not a whole lot new to show in here. It's just kind of going sideways, stuck in the middle still. All right, that's kind of the snapshot on the market for the last 2 days. A little bit of sideways action. You know, why is that? I think it's trying to digest. You know, all the press is talking about this. What, Ukraine, Iraq, oil, and now we get the Fed meetings started today. We had some economic reports out this morning, but I think a lot of it, you know, they're kind of now with the Fed, they're waiting to see what happens. Is there any news coming out? Because there'll be a press release tomorrow, 1 o'clock Central Time. And then I think she has Janet Yellen has a press conference after that. So there'll be some action related to that tomorrow. We'll see how the market takes that and if there's any developments overnight in the markets. All right, let's take a look at Citrix Systems. This is one where I got in and then we got out up in here after 5 up days in a row. Now, honestly, 2020 hindsight, I wish I, you know, like only got out a half, stayed in on the other half because this thing is trending very nicely and we've got this big bottom. So now it's, you know, if you're in, great, you know, keep trying to ride it. The ADX here is, where is that? It's 32. So it's very, very nice, solid trend. I mean, you can see this trending here. And I'm not seeing divergences, maybe a little bit coming in, but again, that could go away in a day or two. Just going to have to watch. Moving averages are all aligned, although everything is below the 233 day. Again, it keeps pushing a little bit and they'll all be above here soon. So right now, short term is positive. You know, the 10's above 21 and 21's above the 55 and it's going up at a 45-degree angle. So it's looking pretty solid right now. Tableau software data, Tableau software. Okay, again, here's another one that's trending above and we played this last week. We got in and then got out around 64, I think, because I was looking at, this was a previous high. It's continued to push above it. So it's starting to get a nice solid trend. 10's above the 55. 55 still slightly down. So you got to be a little bit careful in here. I mean, again, it's one of those things where, you know, you never know when all of a sudden the other shoe's going to drop on this, or it could continue to push higher. Right now, what's the ADX? The ADX is 21. It was 20, 19. So it's, you know, it's rising and it's now above 20. So we're getting a little bit of trending action coming in. Skyworks Solutions is a semiconductor company that I haven't tracked before, and I'm going to start following it. It has been in a very solid uptrend over the last year. Let's see, you know, again, it's really, you know, pretty solid in here. I'm not sure the divergences are coming in a little bit between here and here. It's happened before, and then you just got like a pullback down to the 55, and then you just kept going. So if I look at and say, okay, well, yes, I am getting some divergence. Price did not go, price went to new high, but the indicator DI plus did not. Now, I'm not seeing that divergence on the RSI. A little bit here over about a week period, okay? But it doesn't seem to have had much of an impact on the pricing. And on demand index, seeing some divergence showing up. So 2 out of 3 indicators are showing some divergence. This is not something you want, to me anyway. You don't want to sit here and all of a sudden buy puts or go short, because this is very strong. The ADX is at 43. So it's a super strong trend in here. If anything, you want to wait for a pullback to try to get on board for another push up. I mean, so we'll just have to keep watching. I'm not sure what Nelly wave count is on it. I haven't had a chance to look at that closely enough. Anyway, if you're in it, you're riding. Going for the ride. And Workday is the last one we're going to look at tonight. And Workday is another one. Some of these technology stocks, and of course that's starting to be reflected by the NASDAQ. Workday is pushing higher. The ADX is 26 and rising. If I look at the numbers, yeah, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 rising. The moving averages, and notice how that gets above the 10 and it rides above the 10. So now what I look for is when it starts to get above the Keltner channel, the dotted line. Then I start to get, a little cautious and start to try to figure out, how do I gently get myself out of the position, or manage the position tighter. So anyway, right now this is pretty solid, and you notice how the 55 is starting to flatten. Okay, now again, this is 233 day, this is 55 day, this is 21, and these are all simple. The only one that's exponential is the 10 in here. It's kind of like my trigger line and short-term trend line. And so that's the way we're looking at the moving averages. The the blue's above the red. I mean, it's in a solid go from that standpoint. Not really seeing any strong divergence in here. Because this isn't even above this point. Well, it's slightly, but it's so minor. So right now, it's one of those things where you got to look and say, well, okay, previous selling came in right here, okay? And so you got to be a little bit wary because you've been pushing, you had a little trend. How's the volume look? And the volume's been a little suspect. So volume's down here below the 50-day moving average of volume, okay? So, I'd be a little careful at this point, okay? So if you're in the position, maybe if you have options, I'm not in this, I didn't have a trade idea on it. If you're in it, you might want to be careful about this point in here where, and that's kind of right in the middle of this mix. And then here's another support point that came in that should now be resistance. So between here and here, there should be resistance. Let me just put that in there. Between there and there. This should become a resistance zone, okay? So that's my thoughts about Workday. We'll see how that plays out. Okay, that's it for tonight. This has been Joe for Beyond the Chart. We've got Wednesday tomorrow. We'll take a look at the BRIC countries and some Chinese stocks. Have a great Wednesday, everyone. Thanks for stopping by, and talk to you soon.